Security scare over Washington, D.C. So just how much chaos can two guys in a teeny little itty-bitty plane cause? Let's take a look.
I have to get off the grounds now.
Well, let's go, guys. Let's move.
Keep moving down. Away from the building. Down this way, away from the building.
It was all over in 20 minutes, and thank God everything turned out okay.
Keep going!
It was post-9/11 chaos in this post-9/11 world. A small plane close to all of the important buildings in the nation's capital. It was, truth be told, for a while today, chaos.
Keep moving, keep moving.
All the way over to the court.
The White House evacuated. The Supreme Court and the Congress evacuated. In the air, a small plane, a little Cessna, chased by armed fighter jets and a helicopter. The plane is not communicating. The pilot's intentions are not known.
There is an intruder plane over Washington, D.C. and these jets are flying by. They're dropping flares to threaten us.
This small single-engine plane was less than 2 minutes away from the White House.
The plane was within 10 miles.
The plan prepared for the worst had kicked in. Motorcades left the White House. The First Lady and visiting Nancy Reagan sent to the basement. Congress evacuated, some senators wondering if the worst could be at hand. The president was out riding his bike in Maryland, it turned out, but that was the only benign moment in an afternoon filled with tension.
I think people will probably look to see, why didn't we catch this plane sooner? Did it file a proper flight plan? Did it deviate from that flight plan? Did we have to respond so quickly over the skies of Washington?
The no-fly space over the Capitol was clearly and grossly violated. Had the pilot had malevolent intentions, it isn't clear what could have happened. Is the no-fly zone too small? Does the military have enough time to react?
An exclusion zone that would be sensible from a security point of view would be a 100-mile radius from the White House. That takes you all the way out to Richmond to the south, Baltimore and Philadelphia to the north-northeast. It's an impossible zone.
That's because an area like that would play havoc with civilian air traffic. As it was, the Cessna was detected, but there are still other questions that need to be answered tonight. Were those large-scale evacuations, for instance, really necessary?
The government looks skittish and fearful, and we don't want to project that image around the world. Now, that's not to say that we didn't make the right decision today to evacuate.
On the ground, the government says everything worked well, though some senators say they learned of the incident not from anyone official, but by wireless email messages from relatives who are watching on TV.
It's a reminder again that we always have to be vigilant, and we always will remain vigilant, but at the same time, there's an effective response in place. We detect problems as they emerge on the horizon, we react appropriately and quickly, we resolve them, and now we go on with the rest of our lives. And I think people, should, as I said, should enjoy the day and feel confident and secure in the fact that you've got professionals who are protecting the country and protecting the city.
Tonight, we know it all came down to human error in the cockpit of a tiny plane. Human error that triggered a massive response. We know that now. We didn't know it then.
They made a mistake, and a bad one. And whether they got disoriented, or were just not paying attention, or were just not very intelligent, we don't really know yet. We'll find out, I'm sure, in due time. But they made a mistake, and it was a doozy.
In an instant, that innocent mistake became a test of the national security system. September 11th showed us how fast disaster can strike, how little time there is to react. Today, with the plane bearing down on the Capitol, it seemed, and fighter jets scrambling to stop it, the urgent task on the ground was to get as many people out of harm's way as quickly as possible. CNN's Suzanne Malveaux was at the White House when the order to evacuate came.
Out the gate. Let's go. Let's go.
The scene at the White House turned from calm to chaotic in an instant.
We're going out the Northwest Gate.
I stepped outside the White House briefing room to find emergency response teams with their guns drawn, yelling at me to get back inside the building or get off the grounds.
Folks, you have to get off the grounds now.
I immediately got on my cell phone and called in.
One of the Secret Service agents told me, "Run, this is no joke. Leave the grounds." They were poised with their guns.
Vice President Dick Cheney's motorcade whisked him away. It was a full-scale evacuation. As I was heading to the Northwest Gate, an agent told me a plane had violated restricted airspace and was heading our way. I heard a fighter jet roar overhead. President Bush was already off the grounds on a bicycle ride 16 miles away. But Mrs. Bush and former First Lady Nancy Reagan, who'd been visiting, were at the White House and had to be ushered to a secure bunker on site. We were ordered to keep moving across Pennsylvania Avenue through Lafayette Park. It was all over in 15 minutes as Secret Service agents waved and called for the all clear. White House and Secret Service officials said the evacuation went according to plan, although some members of the press corps said they weren't notified of the security scare. Motorcades carrying the president and vice president returned to the White House, and we returned to our cameras.
Well, Wolf, it's all rather calm right now after quite a bit of commotion.
Then I went to Georgia.
But several hours later, when Mr. Bush was himself in front of the cameras, he refused to answer any questions about the scare,
Was a shootout order given?
including whether he considered giving an order to shoot the plane down if it had come too close to the building.
Now, protocols set up after September 11th do not require the president's authority to shoot down a plane that is determined a threat. Now, White House officials say, in fact, since President Bush was never in any danger and since precautions had been taken to protect people here at the White House, the president was not notified of the security scare until after his bike ride when it was all over. Aaron?
Is the assumption in the Capitol that anytime a plane violates airspace and that they have no communication and they don't know what its intentions are, do they assume